You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Christchurch runner Cameron Avery is currently in Vienna in an attempt to qualify for the Paris Olympics marathon event. No Kiwi males have currently qualified for the Paris Games in the marathon, but Cameron Avery is going to give it a crack. Sunday morning Vienna time, that is tonight for us. He joins us now. Thanks for taking the time for a chat, Cameron, ahead of a pretty exciting day for you, we hope. What is the Olympic qualifying time? What do you have to run?
So it's 2:08, so 2 hours, 8 minutes, 10 seconds right now, Jason.
2:08.10. What is your current personal best?
I've run 2:12.30 last November in Shanghai. So that's the only marathon I've run so far. So obviously I have to take a little bit of time off that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Shanghai Marathon. I'll do that in a moment, though. But you do have to take a bit of time off, obviously. It's a small sample size, having only run the one marathon. How realistic is this?
I personally think it's pretty realistic. I think you, as somebody trying to do it, you have to believe it's realistic. And there's that balance between optimism and realism, that you have to kind of walk that tightrope. And a lot of people will probably see four and a bit minutes and go, that's out of the question. That's not in the realm of realism. It's a fantasy. But I think based on the changes that we've made, my coach Chris Pallone and myself, that I think that's a very realistic time to take off. Most people going from their second marathon take a good chunk of time off just with the experience that they've gained. But also we've made some changes in training. We've been able to do certain things with altitude that we weren't able to do the first time. I didn't really have any paces the first time in Shanghai, so the pace went out really slow. Then I had to take on a lot of the work myself in the second half. So with all of those things taken into account, yes, it does need to still be a perfect day. Everything needs to go perfectly, but it only needs to go perfectly once.
Indeed.
And if you get that all right on the day, then anything could happen. So I'm feeling good about it.
So when you look to take a chunk of time, like 4 minutes off a marathon, are you looking to run every kilometre faster by, say, 10 seconds or 7 or 8 seconds, whatever it is, or are you trying to run a faster first 21K? Where are you looking to make those gains?
Everybody's a little bit different, and some people might want to go out and bank time in the first half. Not very many, to be fair, in the marathon try to do that. It's a risky strategy to try and bank time because you can fall apart so badly. Anyone who's run a marathon knows how the halfway point is not really the halfway point. That comes around 32, 33K. But I'll be trying to run it pretty consistently. A lot of my strategy is dependent upon the race, how the race is run. And we have a pacer for 2:08 flat. And there'll be a few different guys in the field all trying to get that time. So my job is just to settle in at the back of that pack, do absolutely no work, just try to turn my brain off for basically a 30-so-K and hopefully still be feeling good enough to bring it home at the end. And that ends up taking, I think it's about 4 to 5 seconds per K faster than I was doing in Shanghai. And if we can do that consistently, then that's what would be our ideal.
Fantastic. So your first marathon, your marathon debut in Shanghai, 2:12.30. I mean, it's a terrific time for a first marathon. How do you reflect on that race?
Well, first off, thank you very much. Yeah, it was a good run. It was a solid run. I was kind of in half a mind afterwards whether to be stoked with it or not, because I was just selfishly wanting a little bit more. We thought I was in shape for a 2:09, 2:10, everything going well, and the day was perfect in Shanghai. It was a beautiful day, perfect weather. The air quality wasn't too bad, and I think that there could have been something really special there had we had the right situation to chase it in terms of pacing. But at the end of the day, I reflected on that race and could be really proud of the effort I put in, which I've been I'm a runner who's quite hard on myself, and people will be able to, I think, empathize with that, in which I usually look at a race and if it hasn't gone absolutely perfectly, then I'll find something to focus on in a negative way. And I'd found that throughout a lot of my career. And this was one of the first runs that I was able to look at and go, look, did it go perfectly? No. Did I make every decision perfectly? No. but it was my first one. I'm learning, and I'm really proud of the way I finished. And I was able to look at myself in the mirror that night and be like, you know what, you gave it a really good crack, and that's a great foundation to build off.
So how much encouragement did you get from that run, that time, the way you negotiated your first marathon? How much encouragement, Cameron, did that give you to push towards an Olympic qualifier?
Oh, it was huge. It was, I can't really put into words how much confidence that run gave me, because it's one thing to have workouts that reflect a certain amount of fitness, and you could go, oh yeah, we think we're in 2:9, 2:10 shape or something like that, but it's another thing to go out and give a run that you feel truly reflects that. And to be able to do that off in my first race, it was a big, scary environment. I'd never been in a platinum level race before. I mean, it was my first marathon, but that kind of race was a new breed for me. And so it gave me all the confidence that I could no longer just be stepping on the line to say, yeah, I'm here to race, but now I'm here to compete. And it doesn't matter for me now what level I'm at. I need to think that way. And I know that I need to think that way in order to take the next step.
And looking at some of your other results in 2023, it was a big year for you, a really impressive year, one that you must look back on with an immense sense of pride. What were some of the highlights of 2023 for you, apart from the Shanghai Marathon at the back end of the year?
Thank you again, Jason. Yeah, no, it was a great year. It was a breakout year, 100% for me. I went into the year just kind of tottering along still as a pretty solid level domestic runner, and wanting to make that next step to being competitive on the world scene. And whether or not I'm there yet, I'll leave that for smarter people than me to try to work out. But it was a great step. Every single step that I took last year seemed to take me closer to where I wanted to be. Bathurst for the World Cross Country Champs, which was just over the ditch in Australia. That was my best race to date. Getting top 50 there was awesome, being the top Kiwi, and then getting to go from there on to the Gold Coast, where I ran just under 63 minutes for I would call it my debut competitive half marathon. I did one last year, which unfortunately I'd had COVID not too long before, so it was kind of a bit of a write-off. But every step last year that I took, it got better and better. That half marathon was great. Then on to national cross country, which was awesome to do with a bunch of mates around me, and then going across to Latvia, where I had the opportunity to race World Road Running Champs, and again that went well as well in tough conditions. And each one gave me just that little bit more confidence that when I took that big step to the marathon, which is a big step no matter which way you slice it, that I was going to be able to compete well, because I'd done so throughout the year thanks to coach and the way he'd set me up.
So Vienna, is that where Eliud Kipchoge ran his sub-2-hour marathon, albeit in slightly manufactured conditions? It's the same city, right? But I don't think it's the same course?
No, you're right. Absolutely. So it is the same city, and the course is a little bit different. So he ran on that out and back stretch, but there is a section of the course tomorrow, which is I think they call it the sub-2 road, and it's just like a 14K stretch, which will be on that bit. So obviously getting to run that is awesome. And the whole reason they chose Vienna was because the conditions are usually very, very consistent in the city. And so that's one of the reasons we wanted to come to Vienna, hoping for those kind of personal best conditions. Whether or not we're going to get it, it's like near on 0 degrees right now, but we're gonna, maybe it'll warm up, or maybe I just need to have a lot of coffee. So yeah.
Brilliant stuff. So if you run the time 2:08:10 in Vienna, will you automatically go to Paris? Is there any other box to tick? Do you just have to run this time and you'll be on the plane to Paris? Is that your understanding?
Unfortunately, not quite that simple. It would be great if it was, but I would still need to get selected by Athletics New Zealand and the NZOC, the New Zealand Olympic Committee, and there are certain stipulations that they have about top 30. top 30 potential, top 16 potential, whatever it happens to be for them. But I'm hoping that an automatic qualifier would leave no doubt. And that's why I know that I have to do that rather than chasing the, I think that if the opportunity presented itself to chase the secondary qualifier, which is through the non-auto qualifying system, I think even that might have been a bit of a stretch to get in on that, based on the way that NZOC has selected people in the past, leaving people like Zoe Hobbs and Eddie at home for Tokyo throughout the same kind of system. So I knew for this one, got to run 2:08:10 to give myself the best shot, and then it's in the hands of the selectors at that point. I can only hope. Yeah,
it'd be a fairly irresistible case. And if you do run 2:08:10, that also breaks the New Zealand record, 2:08:19. Did you know that? Is that on your mind as well?
It is. Yeah, it is. I'm obviously, you try not to focus too hard on it, but it's because you want to just keep the one goal at a time. But the nice thing about it is that I think it's 2:08:17, I think. But yeah, around about whatever time it is, it's near as makes no difference. Those times, that the fact that it aligns so nicely with the Olympic standard it plays in my favor, because races are being set for that Olympic standard. Therefore, the races are being set basically for the New Zealand record. And that is a huge secondary motivator for me, because while selfishly, like the Olympics is almost in a way a selfish goal, right? It's for my family and for my training partners and my friends and stuff, and it would mean so much to them. But at the end of the day, I get to go to the Olympics, right? That if that's what would happen, and that is in a way a selfish goal. Whereas I consider the national record a little bit more of a holistic or a team goal, if you will. And I say that because I feel like that's almost a for New Zealand type of goal. And I've always run the best throughout my career when I'm running for something bigger than myself. So I am drawing a little bit of strength from that.
Outstanding. Well, mate, it's been such a pleasure to catch up with you, Cameron. Look, all roads lead to Vienna for you. We'll be following you with interest and hoping that you can cross that line, 2:08:10 or even quicker than that, and earn yourself the possibility of a trip to Paris. Thanks so much for taking the time for a chat to us today.
Of course, mate. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Cameron. All the best. Cameron Avery there, Christchurch Marathon runner. Vienna tonight, going to try and beat the Olympic qualifying time. And who knows, the New Zealand team, which was announced during the week, 15 athletes, may increase by one if Cameron Avery can run that time.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday, or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.